Welcome to your first ever piano lesson. So if you're here, chances are you are really excited to learn to play, but you're not quite sure where to begin. So in this lesson, I'm going to guide you through learning the musical alphabet, how to find your way around the keys on the piano, how to play a scale, and the most fun part is by the end of this, you'll have the basics down so that you can play a song using chords. So let's dive in. The first thing that you want to do when you sit down at your piano is get comfortable with the layout. So you should know that the musical alphabet takes us from A to G and then repeats itself. So what I mean by this is I'm going to teach you this all in detail in a moment. I'm just giving you some perspective here. So this is A, we have B, then C, then D, then E, then F, then G, and then we go right back to A. And it repeats, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, etc. So that's great to know, but how do you get really confident with that layout? Well, we're going to use the black keys to help us navigate the keyboard. So as you can see, we've got groups of 2 and groups of 3 black keys. And a great way to just kind of get comfortable with the layout and start to make some sounds is by playing each of these groups of 2 and 3. And you can do that with each of your hands. You can do it hands together. You can do them together or separately. Have some fun with it. So once you get confident with the location of those groups of 2 and 3, you can use them to help mark different areas on the piano. So one of the most common starting notes as a beginner piano player is C. And to find C, you can just locate a group of 2 and move down to the left. And now you have middle C, because that's the C nearest the middle of our piano, and it works anywhere. So practice finding all the C's on your keyboard until you're confident. Once you can do that, you can kind of use C to navigate your way up and down the piano. After C is D, before C is B. So just get comfortable working through your musical alphabet, finding different notes on the piano and locating them. The group of 3, the note to the left of that is F. So that works as another really great sort of landmark point to find your way around the keyboard. So once you know where C is, you're going to want to place your hands in what we call C position. So you're going to take your right hand, and you're going to place your thumb, which we call our 1 finger, on the C closest to the middle of your piano. And you're going to want to take your 5 finger, which is your baby finger of your left hand, and place it on the C directly below that. So each of your fingers is going to rest on a key, which as a beginner can be a little challenging. So just take your time, take some deep breaths, relax, keep your wrists kind of buoyant, and practice just sort of playing each of these notes that are lying under your fingers up and down like this. And I call this the 5-finger scale or the 5-tone scale. And I'm making it look really easy, but if you're brand new, playing this hands together might be impossible, in which case, just play one hand at a time, very slowly, applying even pressure to each finger as you push down the keys. And switch to your left when you're ready. And once you gain confidence with this, you can work on it hands together. So spend as much time as you need on that step. When you're comfortable and confident, you can move on to the next step, which is learning to play the C major scale. So you've learned a 5-note scale, but there's something called a C major scale. It uses 8 notes, takes us from C to C. And the reason this is a bit challenging is because we've got 5 fingers and 8 different notes to play. So we have to do some fancy finger work. If we start on C, we're going to play our first 3 fingers, and then we're going to hold there for a moment. And we're going to use finger 3 as like a pivot point, and we're going to tuck our thumb underneath, and then we're going to unfold our hands so it lands back like this. And now you'll notice the rest of the keys, taking us back to the high C here, are lying perfectly underneath your fingers. And then you can head back down exactly the way you went up. When you run out of fingers this time, you're going to use your thumb to pivot your 3rd finger up and over, uncurl your thumb, and work your way right back down to C. So looks fairly simple, but let me tell you, it's very challenging at the beginning. So have patience with yourself. 1, 2, 3, tuck your thumb, work your way up. And you can do this as slowly as you need to. When you run out of fingers, the 3rd finger comes up and over to land on C. Now the left hand is the same deal, but it's kind of reversed. So you start with your 5, you use all of your fingers up, then your 3rd finger comes up and over to 1, 2, 3, tuck your thumb, and then uncurl your fingers, and you can finish your scale. once you can do that, you want to try this one hands together, but this is where most, especially adult learners, have a disaster because it's really difficult to play this hands together because the fingering changes at different times between the hands. So if you try this and you're like totally overwhelmed and frustrated, know that's very normal and go very slowly and take your time. So you just have to remember your hands are moving together. The right hand tucks first, and then it comes up and over, and then your left hand gets its turn to fly over, and you get to the top of the scale. Just head back down exactly the way you went up. I know, easier said than done, but it does get easier with practice, I promise. So once you've mastered your C scale, you'll be at a place where you're fairly confident now with the layout of the keyboard. You've got some dexterity in your fingers, you're moving around well. This is where we're going to have some fun with chords and actually play a song. So let's take a look at what a chord is. A chord, this is a C chord, is a series of notes that when you play them together, sound like, I don't know, a chord. So we've got our C, we play a third above that, so basically you're just skipping a note, and a third above that, and you're skipping a note again. So you've got your 3 tones that make up the C chord, and sounds great, looks easy, but again, as a beginner, you might find that your 2 and your 4 fingers try to get in the way. It's really challenging. So if you're struggling to do this, simply remove that 3rd tone and work on just the bottom note and the top note as many times as you need to, and then try adding your 3 finger back in. These guys hover just above the notes. They're not actually in on the action, they're just hovering there. So we've played a C chord. Now, the cool thing about chords is if you play them in a certain combination or order, you get what is called a chord progression, and that's what all popular music is based off of. So let's take a look. So we've got our C chord. We need a couple more chords to create a chord progression and then unlock all of these amazing songs that we'll be able to play with our chord progression. So we've got C. The next chord we're going to play is G. So I'm going to find G. G is here. I'm going to follow the same exact process with my 1, my 3, and my 5, skipping these notes in between, and we've got what's called a G chord. So play that a number of times until it feels easy. And then we're going to move on to our next chord, which is called A minor. All you have to do is find A and build a chord. So here's C, thumb on C. Here's G, thumbs on G. A comes right after G, so it's right here. So everybody just boop, moves up a bit. And our final chord is F, which is right here. So remember that group with 3 black keys? That's how we can kind of find that F nice and quickly. So when you put those together, it sounds like so many songs that you're probably very familiar with. And it gets extra fun when you just match the bottom note of your chord with your left hand. So if I'm playing a C chord, my left hand plays C. If I'm playing a G, my left hand plays G. It matches with the A, matches with the F. So when you put those together, now suddenly you've got this whole big list of songs that you can mix and match these chords to play. So you can play With or Without You by U2. You could play California King Bed by Rihanna, Let It Be by the Beatles, Demons by Imagine Dragons. There are so many songs that you can use these chords to play and sound amazing. Jason Mraz? Well, you done me and you bet I felt it. I tried to be chill, but you're so hot that I melted. There's so many songs. So your job now is to explore, have some fun with these concepts. It's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to spend some time working on these, but once you've got them, you're going to be really, really excited at the possibilities. So have fun.